A market size of 130 people, enormous natural resources, both flora and fauna, and regional connectivity are among the opportunities advanced by both political and business advocates of the East African regional integration. To effectively play in the space, however, a country must work on its competitiveness, which begs the question on whether the competitiveness issue is well articulated by those aspiring to get the big office.
Over a period, we have deindustrialized. And I don't see a candidate who's articulating what industrial policy is going to put in place to ensure that we compete in the global market. Everybody's talking about global value chains, but are we going to join these global value chains again in the law as manufacturers, as producers of primary commodities? That's where there's a right arena who says specializing in those things which continue to make you poor rather than continue to make you progress.
With an ailing manufacturing subsector and an equally challenged value addition system, experts believe Uganda has little to bring to the table of nations under the East African Community umbrella, despite the enormous potential. Indeed, a position already appreciated by some of the aspirants.
We have a limited presence of manufactured Ugandan products. This means we have a limited capacity to compete in the global markets. Furthermore, our manufacturing capacity amounts to a mere 7% of Uganda's GDP. 7%. This is below the average of 11% for least developed countries. The average of least developed countries is 11%.
The private sector, the engine of the country's economic growth, is equally concerned, with players noting that little dividend can be achieved out of the many bilateral and multilateral agreements the country is entering into at both regional and global levels without a strong and enabled production machinery back home.
Our expectations of the political dispensation which is expected to manage Uganda should principally help the private sector to be more competitive in such a way that they are competitive at national level. It is important to be competitive at national level because borders are open. So if you are not competitive at national level, you could be beaten in your country. Also, we need to be competitive at regional level because that's where we do business and also escalated to international level. But these two levels, the national and regional level, is very key because it influences a lot of our businesses.
A wealthy nation, according to business experts, will have leverage when relating or negotiating with other states, begging the question of whether Uganda, in its current state, enjoys that. Currently, Uganda's GDP stands at $27 billion, compared to Kenya's $70 billion and Tanzania's $48.06 billion. These gains raises a question of what the different political camps intend to do to improve the country's standing in that respect, well aware of the importance of a strong economic stance, starting within the EAC region, in improving the country's fortunes on the foreign policy front. These are some of the candidates' positions on East African community issues. The NRM says, supported by good governance, it wants to prioritize, among others, agriculture, industry and tourism, infrastructure and human capital development to bolster production, while at the same time supporting the fast-tracking of the EAC economic and political integration. And go forward, we will negotiate with EAC partner states and development partners to build East African International Airport in Uganda, serving over 100 destinations in the world. This will open up Uganda to the world, and in the period of 5 years, Uganda will be a giant in economic development. And the FDC says engagement with its regional and global partners to rake in benefits to ordinary citizens, plus identifying and taking advantage of emerging economic and diplomatic opportunities. These interventions are not convincing enough to some quarters, but about the internal production issues, trade, which is a key component in the East African regional integration under the common market, is equally a challenged area, especially for those Ugandans that have tried to work their way into the region market and beyond.
the issues which concern taxation and the non-tariff barriers, non-tax barriers, which impact on us regarding the ESC integration, regarding the COMESA integration. We need those assurances, we need those matters to be handled at policy level.
Some of these structural issues are being tackled by the relevant technical bodies in the country.
Reviewing our laws under the Common Market Protocol, we are supposed to address the laws that may impede other partner states or may discriminate. This process has taken longer than we thought. We thought it would be ready by 2015 December, but now we have not yet completed that process.
Such efforts, however, have to be complemented by political support or will, explaining why it is still important that those vying for the high office in the country have to come out clearly on how they will tackle the East African integration question and the components therein which involve the common market. So as Ugandans prepare for the second presidential debate, the business community here believes that the candidate will articulate clearly the policy framework to improve Uganda's fortunes, starting with regional business, will take the day. Malcolm Sime,